Join us in a minute or two. Okay. So I'll call to order the first meeting of the new year for the Environmental Advisory Council of the City of Reading. We're doing our reorganization today. I'd like to say Happy New Year to everyone since we didn't have a December meeting, and hope everyone had a happy holidays. I personally had COVID for the holidays, so
Oh, no.
so that didn't help me get a lot done, but I took have to do a little commercial because I took Paxlovid and it was a miracle. 6 hours later, I had no symptoms. On the 5th day of Paxlovid, I also tested negative, and I tested negative the next day, which is like, I talked to my doctor about it and he was stunned. He was not had that kind of data and information and was really amazed. So if you would get it and you have any other risk factor, and you just have mild to moderate symptoms, ask for it in the first 5 days that you're sick. And people talk that there's rebound. I didn't have a rebound. It does leave a metallic taste in your mouth, but you can live with it. It's really not, get cough drops. I mean, it's fine. Anyway, so let's get the meeting to order. I think we have a couple members of the public on our meeting, which is lovely, and welcome. The way we manage things is unless you ask for to make public comment, we don't have you on the agenda. We ask that you're certainly welcome to listen, but not interrupt the meeting. So with that, we'll get started. I would think you could put if you have questions, you could put them in the chat and we'll try to get to them during the meeting at some point. Our meeting goes from 12 to 1:30 typically. And we want to welcome Chris Miller. Chris Miller is our new representative from council. So we really appreciate your time and presence. We've been lucky to have active council members in the past, which is really helpful in keeping communications and outreach going. We see one of our major roles as outreach, and one of the things that has been, I think, perhaps most beneficial to the city from the presence of the EAC is that we tend to be a facilitator where citizens come to us and we can tell council and the administration about what they're concerned about, and council and the administration will come to us for advice and to find out what we think they should do, so that we tend to be able to be a bridge sometimes between the public and the government and back and forth. So we see that as an important role of facilitating and convening people who have concerns and helping them find the answers. So that's one of the benefits of having a council person too on our committee, that we have a clear person to go to with issues or problems or questions that we may have about council's preferences and priorities and whatever is happening going forward. Welcome, Jim. I saw you for a second. Jim is our other
I have a mouthful of nuts right now, so
that's okay. That's fine. So we actually have all of our members, right? It's yay! It's a full meeting. We have 7 members, and I guess we should get. We don't have public comment, right, Shelley? No one submitted a request for public comment. Okay. Then the next order of business is approval of last month's minutes. That was really actually the November meeting, because that was our last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any
Second.
questions? questions, comments, improvements, changes? I thought they looked good personally. Shelley put down a lot of some of the interesting conversations we had, so that helped refresh my memory. Thanks, Shelley. Okay, all in favor of the minutes as recorded, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed or yeah, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, welcome to Lisa from the youth group in Reading, and we appreciate your attendance. Let's see, meetings and events upcoming. Bethany, do you have any to report?
I don't have any coming up between now and our next meeting in February. Although the climate initiative training that we were originally targeting for February 16th
Right?
is being rescheduled.
Oh,
We're just trying to get a more cohesive date.
okay,
So I will update with that. And then we did have 33 adults and I believe 7 children at the Pandora Park Martin Luther King Day of Service. Bill and Stephen were there from the EAC, so thank you for coming out. Over 65 bags of trash, 4 tires, large stereo speaker were all collected in that 2 hours. So amazing job. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
and it was a
Did you
miserable
see my picture
freeze.
on the front page?
I did. Oh yes,
did.
and yeah.
I was very pleased to see that because I couldn't make it. I ended up sick, not with COVID, but something else. And
Yeah, so I
No.
was very impressed for a 25-degree day.
it was
That-
freezing.
That was
stinking
actually
cold.
just a picture moment. I just came and I left.
I can verify
I,
that.
I don't
beat
believe it.
you to that, Bill, because I know that's what you were gonna say.
Kathy, you would have had to fight for a bag. You had to walk around and go, well, this is done. What's the next spot? It was good.
Great.
It was great. Great.
No, but
feeling.
But Bill got to clean his storm drain, so
I
Yeah.
did, so I'm happy.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot of Corona
our
bottles
council,
in.
the crowd included our council rep from this part of the city,
Yeah.
Jamie.
Mhm.
Baez was
yeah,
there,
and Jamie was there,
Yeah.
Baez as well.
pleased
So
to see that.
Great. Well, that sounds like it was a big success, and thanks to the members.
Yeah,
who
well, it
were able
really
to attend.
was. It really was.
Yeah, it's really these we've discovered over the last couple of years that we've made a bigger effort to participate in community events, that's just really important and helpful to have conversations and just the sense of coming together, because we've all become so much more isolated from after the pandemic, and just with lots of things that are going on that tend to keep people in their own little sub communities of the community, and these things tend to get lots of different people, all different ages, all different parts of the city, and we try and go to all different neighborhoods so that we become more familiar with all of the neighborhoods and all of their concerns. Okay, the next and important thing then is our reorganization. Shelley, can you give us a sort of a brief overview of what we need to do and procedurally how we should proceed?
Sure. So this can be as formal or informal as you'd like, depending on how you want to run this, but you will need to appoint a chair and vice chair for 2024.
Okay, and those are the only offices we need, right?
Correct.
Because you wonderfully act as our secretary, and we don't
Unless somebody
really...
else wants it, they can certainly.
No. And the city controller is basically our financial person. So good. Well, I'll open the floor for nominations.
Order is pressuring Congress to pass an immigration plan.
Oops, make sure we put our mutes on.
Agents can remove
nominations for chair.
the
Yeah, nominations for chair. I would like to nominate Sarah Bach. And who is our
You
current
do
vice
not want
chair?
to, you do not want to do it again, Kathy?
No, I said I would just do it this year, waiting for Sarah Bach to get the experience as vice chair. And with the hopeful expectation, just tentatively, no commitment, but that she would then serve as chair. We've been fortunate in the past to do it that way. Then we lost a number of members and we're a little short. So some of us became chair again. But it's good to have that rotate. I think it's important. Anne and David and I have all done more than 1 year as chair. So we really want the rest of you to step up and take turns and bring fresh faces and fresh ideas to the board and also to the public. So
do nominations need a second? I don't remember.
oh, probably yes.
Okay, I second that nomination.
Any questions of Sarah? Sarah, I need to make sure that you will accept if elected.
Yes.
It's
Thank you for
it's a
nominating
voluntary
me.
it's a voluntary thing. We can't make you do it. But any questions of Sarah? Okay, then all in favor of having Sarah serve as our chair for the coming year, 2024, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposition? Of course not. It's unanimous. Yay, Sarah.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you for serving. And we need,
Yeah.
so then we need nominations for vice chair. I took the liberty of picking on Stephen and asking him whether he'd be willing to serve. And he said he would, so I'd like to nominate Stephen to be vice chair for 2024 and work with Sarah to help us keep our noses to the grindstone and out in the public looking at environmental issues.
I heard the phrase voluntold at one point, and that has resonated with me.
Okay,
I'll
you don't
second
really
that.
have to if you feel.
I'll
pretty-
second.
No, I'm fine.
I'll
Okay.
second that motion, Kathy.
Okay, great. Any questions of Stephen? He's already said he's willing to do it. So all in favor, say aye or signify by raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No, of course, it's unanimous, and Stephen is our vice chair. Yay! Thank you for all stepping up, and we will. So Sarah, I did want to ask you whether in light of your election as chair, you would like me to take over, or Anne or somebody who's on the Green Infrastructure Committee to take over as chair of that, or whether you're comfortable continuing with that.
I think it could be okay for me to
Okay.
continue.
Okay.
We set that as every other month. And I have some good updates, so I think that's fine for at least the year. So the term is just 1 year until January 25.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's fine.
It can be renewed. We've oftentimes people have done 2 years, but it's a 1-year term. Okay, great. Well, that was easy.
So you may be on the hook next year too.
It could happen. Okay, so what do we have? We have old business next. Oh,
Staff
no, we don't.
updates.
I skipped over staff updates. We need staff updates. Bethany, do you have updates?
I don't have anything major to update. We're all kind of proceeding on projects as we have been going along. But the major update from Public Works is that Kyle Zieber is officially Public Works Director.
Right.
So
Okay.
that was a great relief to staff.
Yeah.
That we're going to be continuing in the same direction that we have been over the last few years. You know, we're at this point, we're prepping for some grants. We're prepping for spring events.
Which grants are you going for?
We're going for the community change grant from the EPA for some infrastructure updates in the South Reading neighborhood, Chestnut Street corridor. We are doing some smaller community partner grants through the Innovation Fund. And we're also looking at doing a Spring Street corridor planning grant through DOT with the RAISE grant. And I know Enid has some other things going on right now. We're also looking at grant funding for the Skyline Drive bike lane project, which is in the works, but also other grants for the preserve area in general. So those are just the ones that I'm working on.
Right.
So, do any of these grants need matches or design prior?
The RAISE grant is going to be a planning / engineering grant. It will not be an implementation grant for this application. The community change grant, we're going to do the engineering estimates in-house, but then we will be going out for design for, if we get awarded the grant, obviously, then we'll be going out to design and some design build features with that. As things come along, we'll be putting out feelers and assistance for things, but for the applications we can go in-house.
The bike line or the bike lane for the preserve, where would that be? Because they have one.
It is to put in a guardrail to protect the bike lane and make the overlooks and the bike lane protected from vehicle traffic.
Okay. One thing I noticed, I personally have ridden on that bike lane and there's always a lot of debris on the bike lane, so I end up in the road.
Especially at the southern side of, or the northern side of it. And part of that project is how do we do maintenance on the bike lane better?
Mm-hmm.
You also realize that Skyline Drive is not flat.
Yes.
Oh no, it is not. So
but I have ridden it.
Yeah, so we are looking at, so that that project is looking at some overall upgrades to the space to make it more park-like and to reduce the interactions between vehicles and recreation up there.
So there's I don't know, DCNR has a grant that they, I don't know, like previously, I don't know if they still have it. I imagine they do. It's like a maintenance grant where you can buy equipment to maintain trails and things of that nature. And we even brought up that, like, I'm a member of the Schuylkill Action Network, and we even brought up the idea that rivers were trails basically, and could we get a boat that can clean up trash out of the river? Like they do that down in front of Boathouse Row. And I don't know, it's through the Philadelphia Water Department of something, or like I believe it's through them. But it's like, why can't that grant be used to clean up the river where, you know, you get entrapments of, you know, plastic and so forth.
Especially
debris.
up this way. Yeah, especially up this way.
And then also bike lanes and trails. Like, so is there snow removal equipment that could be purchased to do the cleaning aspect of the trails that we're creating, like bike lanes and so forth? Where it's, I don't know what's out there, but I'm sure there's snow removal and debris removal equipment out there. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, Enid, our grants coordinator, is keeping track, and we are putting together several different kind of quasi committees on certain general projects. Bill has his hand up.
Bill?
Well, since we're talking about grants, I'm just curious, what's the status of the NEVI grant that was gonna fund the,
So
education.
that was the CFI grant. Nobody in Pennsylvania got funded.
what?
We will be applying again.
What, and why is that? Do you know why?
We have not gotten any guidance yet, but there were 0 projects funded in Pennsylvania.
Okay, thanks,
Okay.
Bethany. Yep, and so Ryan, do you have any update?
Yeah, I do have a few. The park down there, I did shovel it myself, and then the guys came and threw salt down. We got the handicap ramp cleared up. So and I do check on that. So as EAC is responsible for that, I do check on it.
Okay, thanks.
I've been working with Northwest Middle School. They're going to put a garden in there in the springtime.
Okay,
Climate Corps cleaned it out
right,
over the winter, so yeah, they
okay,
and I'm also working with them on an innovation grant. We're actually meeting again on Friday to be able to get more funds for that. I know that the Berks County Conservation District, they're going to supply the raised beds and the dirt when the time comes. So
okay, we'll,
and
we'll supply some of the labor for sure.
yeah, I'm also Sarah, if you would be my guest for February on BCTV, Our City, Our World, being that you're the new chairperson, I can bring
Yes.
you on and see what your vision. Just talk about the EAC, like what is your vision, and talk about some of the things that we got going on with the EAC.
Okay.
Really. So I'll give you my email address, and I'll look at some dates for next month, because what we do is we tape the show and then it airs later in the month.
Okay.
Okay, but basically that's all I got going on. And we have, Bethany didn't mention it, but we also have neighborhoods. It was on television last night. Bethany, can you talk about that a little bit?
Super Neighbor.
Yeah.
So Super Neighbor is a new program developed between property maintenance, public works, and Keep Reading Beautiful. And it is a way to nominate people for good upkeep of their homes, you know, a beautiful garden, nice decor, kind of an add a girl, add a boy, we see you kind of program. It's not the most glamorous house in the neighborhood. It is, you know, we see that you are taking care of your space and being a good neighbor in the block. The nominations are on the main page, or the nomination form is on the main page of the city website. So if you go to readingpa.gov, it will just look for the Super Neighbor. It's right there. All nominees will be getting a window cling to mark that they are a Super Neighbor. And then once a month, Keep Reading Beautiful will be taking all of the nominees and basically drawing a name out of a hat for a $50 gift card. And then at the end of the year, we will take all of the nominees and nominate for a block party that is put on in collaboration with Public Works. And then we're also looking to do some sort of a picnic or a banquet for all of the nominees as well. And I am really hoping I have the terrible problem of having to plan a really, really big party, which is one of the reasons why the parties are going to be a year behind, you know, because we have to put them in the budget. So if you know of anybody you want to give a shout out to, it's just a rolling basis. So, you know, January 31st nominees, the January nominees will close on January 31st, February 1st to February 29th, I guess, this year. So we'll go monthly, and then Keep Writing Beautiful meets at Public Works on the second Friday of the month at noon, and they will be the ones drawing, and then we will release it once we have who the person is. And everybody, of course, is welcome to the Keep Writing Beautiful. Yeah,
anyone can nominate, right?
Anyone can nominate, and everybody is open. So it can be renters and homeowners, owner occupied. The person who is winning the gift card is the resident. Because we know that as great of a job as some of our landlords do of keeping up properties, what makes it a home is the resident who is living there.
Exactly. I have, if no one have any questions, I have one more thing.
Mhm.
For the Great American Cleanup, it's April the 20th. I don't know, in the past, have the EAC picked a location to clean, or is you guys just focus on the Earth Day? How does that look, Kathy?
We've
For the
done
EAC?
both,
Okay.
different years, depending upon what the schedule was and whether we were tabling ourselves and had to get set up, or
Okay. Because I would like to put together a group from the EAC, to see if we can get the volunteer. I have 5 groups already.
okay,
So just to see if we can get a group from the EAC and pick, I don't know, if we want to do up on a mountain, if we want to pick a park, you know, a neighborhood. So
sure,
that's something to think about. We still have a couple months.
okay,
I just wanted to put that out there.
good. Yeah, I think that would be great if we would do that again this year.
And we are planning, I believe the time for Great American Cleanup is 8 until 1.
Mhm.
And then set up for Earth Day will start at 10. And then the Earth Day event is noon until 6. There is time, and of course I will be transporting all of your stuff over. So
Right. Yeah, so we'll be able to do both.
Mhm.
We'll just have to organize our people power to cover both.
Okay. Thank you.
So one follow-up question on maintenance. What kind of staff does Public Works have to, like, if you had equipment that was specialized to do the maintenance?
The maintenance of what? Of
First
Like-
byline.
Like bike lanes and things like that.
what? You gonna answer? Go ahead.
That's something, as we are developing more bike lane infrastructure, it's typically streets department or like the streets division right now, which is, I believe is 8 people. But we are looking at what the additional needs are going to be, equipment wise, as we build out. 18th Ward, we're installing bike lanes, I believe this year along Hancock. We have the new bike lane along Riverfront Drive near Rack. And then we're looking at some additional bike lanes in the connecting downtown and the South Reading corridor. So these are obviously with special lanes, we are going to have to look at special equipment.
So I guess one of the concerns I have when the RFPs go out for design of these lanes, that certain standards are met, like protective barriers for bike lanes instead of just sharrowing roads. So like in the 18th Ward, there was one like Sharrow lane put in, and I wouldn't want my kid to ride on that if I had a kid.
I think the slogan on the internet I'm seeing a lot is paint is not infrastructure.
right. Yes, that's right. And, you know,
But it
and
sounds like that's what
there's,
they're talking about up on Skyline, adding in some real guardrails. And I think something that comes
right.
to my mind is that I'm sure that there's laws and everything about how wide, where guardrails have to be, but just if we're thinking about maintenance, I don't know.
Right.
That's like,
Yeah.
keep
I
in
mean,
mind, do
one
we
of the
have something narrow enough to go in there and plow a little spot or no?
no, one of the concerns I have is that it's built into the RFP because an engineer will come in and just, you know, willy-nilly do it different ways. And that, you know, there's a standard for, like, for example, having the cars parked on the outside of the bike lane to create a protective barrier, that type of thing. If there isn't some type of, you know, green infrastructure or rail put up. So, you know, standards, and then standards at the intersection, because bike lanes often fall apart at the intersection.
Right.
So that's, I mean,
Yeah.
to me, that's like, if we're gonna be looking into putting a lot of this infrastructure in with different design firms, there needs to be standards that they have to meet. Otherwise, they're gonna design it every which way.
Yeah. So Simone Collins is the lead planner engineer with the active transportation plan. And that's who's kind of building out the toolbox right now with that project.
Mhm.
But you know, it's as they're finishing, we're also looking to start getting implementation.
Yeah, I mean, like, one of my concerns is not all firms even, well, I mean, I don't want to single out firms, but not all firms like understand what a safe intersection is.
Right.
And
No, agreed.
yeah, and what, like, different ways you can make safe bike lanes. Because there aren't, there isn't standard, like, there aren't standards. But there's ways, if we're gonna be putting a lot in, we should have standards. And so that even if it's not Simone Collins, it's,
Mhm.
if somebody else does it, they have to meet certain standards in the RFP.
Okay.
So that's always been a big concern of mine, because I've seen willy-nilly.
Yeah, maybe we could ask Bethany to share with Simone Collins or whoever our concern, and question whether something in the codes needs to be added or amended to put in standards as they're developing these projects, so that
Mhm.
there is guidance to the designers and implementers.
I can do that.
I
Thank you.
wonder if there should, I mean, I'm not sure who should be part of that conversation and whether EAC should be part of it or not, but I think it's really complicated.
Mhm.
And I can cite from experience, when we lived in New York, bike lanes were created and on some avenues in Manhattan, and they put actual physical barriers like a curb. 6 months later, they were torn out. They were so unsuccessful. I mean, nobody liked them. Bike riders didn't like, nobody, so that what on the surface may seem like a good solution, I think, and you know, I'm far from an expert. From what my
Right.
work with Simone Collins, it seems like they look to do state of the art on all this stuff, but maybe there just needs to be a kind of a discussion. What makes sense up on Skyline, like guardrails, I don't think makes sense on Washington Street. I mean, you know, each.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we have to look at what's appropriate for each space.
Right. And trying to, and I know that the active transportation plan tried to accommodate, you know, many layers and many agendas in terms of what that street has to do. So,
Well, like, I
Okay.
keep going back to Barcelona, because I mean, talk about an old city that has narrow streets and, you know, constraints, right? So much more than Reading does.
well,
And
yeah, and that was one of the things I was going to say, Ann. Some of it has nothing to do with infrastructure. It has to do with people being aware of bike riders and getting used to it. I mean, you know, in Brooklyn, there are bike lanes, there's no physical barrier at all. And I mean, as far as I know, to date, you know, it's worked out. I think the intersections is a whole separate thing. That's a,
Well,
that's where it gets
it's
really tricky.
huge. It's huge, and it's part of like a larger picture where
Yes, right.
like
It's kind of
how
what
they
it's-
handled it in Barcelona, which I was so impressed with. I could go anywhere there as a pedestrian and feel safe.
Yeah.
Like maybe not from pickpockets, but
Well,
from
because communities aren't
you
dominated
know,
by the
like as
car.
a pedestrian. And
Yeah.
and what they did was they did a whole infrastructure plan where they made certain streets one way, certain streets thoroughfares. There wasn't clogged up cars anywhere. Like the cars were not the transportation of like via vehicles was not, or cars was not impeded because of their design. It was just smart planning. And so they
Oh,
did
and
certain one way, certain streets, like even in New York City, like you referenced, were cut off for just pedestrians, and then they made other streets thoroughfares. And so the way the infrastructure was done, it was done in such a scientific way that it works like a well-oiled machine. And you're safe at the intersections, you're safe when you're like, you could send your kid out on their bike and you would feel okay in this busy city. So like I think it's really important that Reading does it right, because it can be done right.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole overview, and it can't be done piecemeal and Sharrow's down the road and then another design firm does another thing. And frankly, most design firms that I've talked to about intersections don't understand what a safe intersection looks like.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
hate to say.
Yeah, we're gonna cut this off. I think you made a lot of good points. And we should probably wade in on bike lanes and standards, I think, and Bethany will get us a foot in the door with making a formal request to
Currently, your biggest threat on a bicycle on Hancock is probably getting your tire into one of these sinkholes that are opened up, falling and breaking your collarbone or something.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
gonna
I
put
mean,
speed bumps on there, I think, and it's gonna be still a big improvement. It'd be great.
it's all a part of, like, I think what our strategic plan is for EAC, and that is complete streets, and it's all a part of that.
Yep, it is. It is, and you know, it depends upon history and culture and amount of reliance on public transportation, amount of people that actually do bike as travel rather than just as recreation occasionally or when they're kids. There's just lots of things that make us different than some places, but that doesn't mean that we can't borrow good approaches from
Yeah,
places.
and I think that the cultural aspect can't be overstated, and that probably speaks to the importance of the outreach component too.
Right,
So
exactly.
just getting people aware of, hey, you know, these bikes are not a threat to you. Just
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have a pedestrian downtown, but you know, that's not gonna. I've been in Freiburg, Germany, and other places where there's a pedestrian downtown. Getting a pedestrian couple blocks would be nice. Ithaca
Well,
did that recently and actually made it work, but it's a college town, so there's there's
I
that
have
going on
faith.
too.
we have a
I have
college here.
faith.
So anyway, we need to move on because we're only still on staff updates. Scott, do you have anything?
He's gone.
Oh, he's gone already.
There he
So
is. Oh, no, there he is.
he couldn't.
I'm still here. Sorry.
Okay,
I've been away for a while, but I'm back.
that's okay.
I don't have a lot. I mean, we're just keeping up with maintenance and keeping our stormwater infrastructure as clean as we can. Obviously, with all the snow and, you know, a lot of water moving every which direction. That's what
And
we're
tough.
basically working on.
Okay, great. Anybody else have a staff update? I think that's the only staff we have here. Okay, let's go to old business then. Signage, I think I'm among, I think I've somewhat dropped the ball on this. We did get some good progress going with our effort to identify green stormwater infrastructure. In particular, at this point, this was the project. Identify different categories and put signage for each of the 8 categories of green infrastructure, such as rain gardens, green roofs, bioswales, bump outs, infiltration based bump outs and other categories of infrastructure. So we met last time with Dean, and we got the estimate and we approved it last meeting. And he sent us the tree trench design, and members of the communication committee commented, and I commented. I think there was some confusion that people thought they were supposed to report to Bethany what they thought. And of course, Bethany was on vacation the last 2 weeks of
Yeah.
the year.
I think
And,
everything got over to Dean. I will double check.
Yeah, and I think Bethany, in future, when we're asked to comment on something like that, if we're really going to do it, we should appoint one of us and not go through you unless you really want, unless you're also concerned and you want to wade in, because you have too much to do. I mean, you just have too much to do, and to
Yeah.
put another step in just to make it convenient for us. I mean, there's no reason why we can't coordinate it among ourselves, and then like by sending the comments to the chair of the subcommittee that's looking at it. I was hoping that the Green Infrastructure Committee looked at it. Did you, Sarah? No. Okay. And maybe yeah, okay. So we need to pick that up, and we'll have to finagle how we work with the invoice and so forth, because the idea was that he would get the work done before the end of the year, so it could properly be paid for with last year's funding. And since we've dropped the ball and he got one done, he's to do 8 in a similar, once we had a style and an approach that we liked and he understood what we were looking for, then he would do the others. We also got help from Jasmine, who put together a water cycle graphic, which we commented on and we refined and was really in pretty good shape to send to Dean, and we did send that to him. And Dean, I'm sorry, I shouldn't, Jasmine is our intern slash part-time consultant on communications. And Dean is the graphic, Dean Communications, I think what is it called?
Dean Marketing.
Dean Marketing is graphics and marketing and advertising company that has done work before for us and for the city. They designed our logo, and we liked working with them, so we went back. How many of you have actually seen and looked at, had a chance to look at and comment on the graphic for the tree trench?
But was it sent to everyone?
It wasn't.
Because
Okay.
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not seen it.
I thought it was the
just that
communication committee.
But I think it's in my email. I can forward that out to all the
But let's
members.
forward it to everybody, as long as we've been delayed. I mean, I thought it was going to be the Green Infrastructure Committee and the Communications Committee, and then the chair would send the comments of those subcommittees. That would be more, the reason for having the subcommittees is to have that kind of a discussion offline, not at our major meeting. And I try and let people know what's happening so that if they want to be in on something like this, they can, but otherwise we'll let the committees do the work and then report to the consultant to get things moving.
Kathy, the this has been a topic of discussion since I joined the EAC however many years ago. And I have to admit, I'm a little confused now as to what the chain of command, so to speak, and who is supposed to weigh in. Can we establish clearly who needs to do what right now in the next
Yep.
week or two, and a deadline, and just close it
Yeah.
out?
Yeah,
think
that's
we're
what I
getting
wanted to,
pretty close.
that's what I wanted to do. I thought we were there
Okay.
last
Yeah,
month. but-
yeah. So I thought it was going, I put it out of my mind, so I thought it was headed somewhere, and it was. So who needs to do what so that we can wrap this up right now? Can we, not in this moment, but at least know what needs to be done and set a deadline so we can wrap it up? And bill by the end of January? Is that, get an invoice to be paid by the end of January? Is that what I understand, Shelley?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe we
I have,
a month grace period. So
Yeah.
So, I mean, and again, we don't need 15 people looking at it at this juncture.
No,
but who needs, I have it up in my email right now. So
Okay,
who all needs eyes on it? So
Sarah
Sarah,
does.
I would say all of the committee, all
Yeah,
of
I
the
would like to
Green
see it.
Infrastructure Committee.
EAC
Send it to every-
members.
okay.
so the infrastructure committee,
Yeah, the Communications
I don't
Committee
even
already
know if
had
I-
a shot, right?
I don't even know if I'm on that or not, but
Well, and you know, he has good examples as
so,
templates.
so then the infrastructure committee should weigh in and let who know by what date? Who's gonna be the gatekeeper to then get, is that Bethany or Bethany, or do you want to pass that to someone else?
How about if I do it? Can I be
Okay,
the chair of this particular
yeah,
little
this is
project?
the ad hoc, this is the ad hoc committee for the finishing the signage. We'll
I
give it
mean-
an acronym.
I'm with Bill and since I've been here, which is longer than Bill, I've been trying to get this done. And I
So,
did send comments, two sets of comments to Dean on that tree trench.
okay,
And I think it's set, but,
all right, so why don't we say that by Friday, people should let you know if they want to change anything. I'm just gonna try to hunter this, stop,
no,
tell me to
go,
shut
go,
up if
go.
I should. And then, is Friday too soon? No, right? By Friday, by Monday? And then you'll communicate with Dean directly instead of through Bethany to save her?
Yes, yes, if
Bethany has
that's
her hand
okay,
up.
Bethany. Okay. Yeah, I do want to make sure I collect from the Green Infrastructure Committee.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
And
because
we had a discussion about it at the communications committee
did.
quite a bit about
did.
detail.
Yep.
And then you'll communicate with Dean and he'll have everything he needs and he can finalize it
Yep,
and then get it back for one.
and then
more
what we'll have to
review, I
do is, and I'll have him get me his next drawings and I'll get those. Who wants to be involved? Who wants to be part of this?
That's good.
And do you?
Well, I think it's important that I do.
I do too. That's why I didn't
Yeah.
see your hand.
I was just kind of like, it's.
Okay, because
I
I want to know
should
who
have eyes on this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to know who once I communicate with Dean, then he's probably going to send another one. Because he's already
I'd
looked at,
like to see that.
he's already looked at what the water department, the Philadelphia Water Department has, what EPA has. He's done that background we told him to do. And
Right.
that's how he made the first one. And he's taking the Philadelphia Water Department materials out of the public domain and then tweaking them so it looks more like Reading.
Right.
so-
I think he has really good templates to work off of. I
Yep.
would like to have eyes on it to make sure that
Yep.
there aren't any
Okay.
engineering issues with
Ann
it.
wants to do, Bill, do you want to be on it?
I don't need to see it. I trust you guys with
Okay.
working with Dean.
And Sarah? So Sarah, Ann, and I will go
And
with,
I
Jim.
would like to see it.
Jim wanted to see it.
oh, Jim,
yeah, I
Okay.
sent it to all of you.
right. But I just want to know who I get back to. We're going to make a small group that actually want to see all 7 of the next signs that are produced. So that we can get back and forth to him within the week or within a couple days instead of, waiting for a committee meeting and have
Right,
it take 2
right.
weeks to a month.
So he's like, he knows he needs to get this done quickly, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He was hoping, and he got, he sent requests out.
Oh,
But we
I
didn't
imagine
send,
it's the type of thing where once the format is approved, he could crank the rest out. a little
yes,
fast.
I think so.
It
But
just
that's why I
worked out.
wanted to know who actually wants to see the others, because I don't want you to come back and say, wait a minute, I thought I was gonna get to review all of
Mhm.
these. Because he may do them quite quickly. The other issue that he raised back with me, and when I sent him the water cycle, was he felt we should have the water cycle as a separate sign. I really wanted it to be, I wanted us to have a bigger sign, more like parks and preserves and nature trails and things have, and have the water cycle and then the specific example, the category of infrastructure. So there would be the water cycle on everyone and then the tree trench on the same sign. If it's small, I agree with him. Like if we're doing a 11 by 14 inch sign, that probably can't be done in an effective way. So I wanted to get feedback from all of you, whether you're comfortable. I don't know what we'll do with the water cycle sign then, if it's going to be separate.
Yeah, so I think a lot of fresh eyes on it would probably be good. Just, like just to understand if it's visually attractive and not too busy. The concern I have with the water cycle sign on all the signs is, or water cycle on all the signs, is that it could get too busy.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
Dean said.
Yeah,
But
and
that's if
get
it's small, but if it's a big, frankly, all of the signs that I've seen, including Philadelphia Water Department, have something about the water cycle and then
okay.
the other, so that you understand how what this is works and is important to the
Yeah.
to the whole water system and ecosystem.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
I'll
it's
ask him to show us how he would do it, and how big the sign would have to be.
like maybe like a little corner or something, but I would hate to have the water cycle overwhelm the sign.
Yeah, or it could be that it does end up as two separate signs that in some instances are posted together.
Yeah,
Maybe gonna
could.
consider, just if it makes sense graphically.
Yeah, I just think if people don't understand that where raindrops go,
Yeah, I agree with that
it doesn't
point,
make
that-
any sense that we're
Why are
doing
you explaining
a fancy tree trench and
Yeah,
pipes in and
what's the
out
point of
and
the tree trench if they need to know the large? I agree that I think it's a nice idea to have at least a reference to the water cycle posted alongside the tree trench or alongside the rain garden or whichever.
well, maybe that would be sufficient. Just have the water cycle as a QR code to ask, suggest people look at that, see how it fits into the water cycle, and have a QR code that brings up our water cycle graphic. Okay, anyway, no more time on that. We need to move on. But I will report back to Dean on it. We'll get, I get comments from people by Friday. Actually, you can have till, let's say Sunday, so I can report to him on Monday, on the first business day. So if you need the Saturday on the weekend, because if I get it Friday, I'm not going to be able to give it to him Monday anyways, until Monday anyway. So you might as well have that time to take a look.
And here's just kind of a tangent related to green infrastructure. I'm curious if when the city starts working on electrifying things, as it moves towards meeting its carbon goals, does that stuff all fall under green infrastructure? Like, do we need signs
It
for?
does. We just had our first
solar?
project was with green stormwater infrastructure, but I think we definitely wanted, if we can ever get this done,
Mhm.
and
I believe in
we
that.
think it's effective, and we think, it's providing outreach and getting people to notice what the city's doing to make us more resilient,
Mhm.
then we should certainly do energy infrastructure as well.
Jim,
Yeah, that's a really good point, Jim, that, it just, like, if, I don't know, like mapping of where all the charging stations are, mapping of, green buildings, whatever,
Yeah,
like the,
we already
we-
decided we're doing that, the maps.
We have a list of,
Yes,
it's not a complete list, that includes, green infrastructure list of locations throughout the city that include the green buildings, some solar installations. I think we have we were going to check with Albright to see if they're okay with us putting their charging stations on a map. But there's a list that's going to go on the map on the website at some point. I'm not sure where that stands. I think
and
that's
I think
another-
ultimately when we
that's
have,
stopped.
you
That
know,
process
like,
stopped.
I think ultimately when we have, safe bike lanes and complete streets, like, great pedestrian routes. I don't know.
Maybe
Like,
that'll make
Okay.
outreach a little easier because people will actually be out there. You can put the signs up and people will be there to read them.
okay,
right.
okay, we need to move on. So
Good point.
we've got a plan for the stormwater infrastructure signage initiative, and get me comments by Sunday so that I can give them to Dean on Monday, and then as he does work, I will send it back out to Anne and Sarah and Jim.
And Shelley, where does it stand with the funds allocated for this? The dean has to submit an invoice, or does that have to be paid by the end of January?
If you're gonna use 2023 funds, my deadline is the end of January. Otherwise, if the bill comes in February, we're using 2024.
So I will,
Didn't you say you had a month grace period?
That's
that is the month.
That is.
Oh,
the
that
month.
is the month. Oh,
Yeah.
January,
no.
yeah, Monday is
January one.
January 29. So if you're only gonna start talking back up with him on Monday, we're probably gonna miss that.
Okay, yeah,
Can he invoice? I mean, he's already given us a proposal. We know the amount, right?
yeah, I'll ask him to invoice it.
Yeah, we can't pay from a proposal. It has to be an invoice.
So,
Okay.
but we know what the amount is. We're not waiting for that. So he could submit the invoice. What I'm saying is that's not dependent on finishing the design process. I think.
That's
Is-
what,
is
however
a-
he
is a
does his
retainer
business
the same
practice,
as-
that's beyond my opinion.
Bethany,
Yeah. Is the retainer the same as an invoice?
he gave us an amount to do what he's doing. He
Right,
hasn't
but that was a
completed it yet,
proposal.
but we've paid people before they're finished with their work. We pay people when they don't even do the work. So,
Right, not anymore, we're not.
uh,
Not anymore, we're not.
I'm sorry I said that. So can we, so that we don't find ourselves dipping into this year's budget to pay for work on a where the funds actually are there, if we don't use them, we lose them. Bethany, can you
Okay.
weigh in on?
I can request an invoice from him for at least what has been done so far. We
Okay.
can figure out going
Let's,
forward.
yeah, why don't we, I think we need to ask people to take a look at the tree trench and give me an answer by tomorrow. So we can ask him
Let's
to
do that.
do what he can in the rest of the week. Does that make
And
sense,
and
Bethany?
invoice it.
Kathy, why
invoice
don't we say, why don't we say by tomorrow, and whoever you've heard from has input.
Yep.
Let's just push this through. I mean,
Tomorrow, by tomorrow, you've got half a day, we'll give 24 hours, so tomorrow at 1. So that I still can get out to him and ask him to work, to make similar graphics for the other categories, as many as he can get done, and then invoice us for the work he's done.
there we go.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're gonna do then. Thank you for clarifying that this is not December still.
If he doesn't pull all-nighters, then he doesn't get paid, right? No, I'm joking.
And he may have done quite a bit of preliminary work, just waiting to see, you know, if we had any
He's done a
substantial
lot so far. I think.
changes, because yeah, he did see quite a lot. All right, moving on, rain garden installations, we don't have anything. Brownfields database, David, do we have anything on that?
Not that I'm aware of. I thought, Bethany, weren't we dealing with, isn't Public Works dealing with an outside vendor who's assisting with this Brownfields database project? Because I don't think we're running this through the policy subcommittee.
No, I did get some mapping done of thing through Eris last year, but it does not include the Act 2.
Yeah.
Because of Pennsylvania. There is support available for brownfields and for mapping. There is different grants available through EPA and University of West Virginia. Probably something that should come out of either community development or redevelopment authority. Just be, you know, Public Works works on public infrastructure.
Let's shelve that
Different
for
things.
now. And I'll look back to see what else we were,
Yeah.
we left that.
We do have some resources. I think it's just a matter of getting some time and the right team together, because I think it's something that could come out of work with an EAC / redevelopment authority /
Okay.
zoning commission. You know, it maybe we get some different representatives from different groups.
Yeah, I think that
Kind of
makes
help build
sense.
that project out. But there is free to us resources to help us build out the project and get funding to do the mapping.
Okay. Right, that sort of goes along with, and I don't think we have it on here. We had to meet the issue of the brownfield note going forward. Let's not continue to not know where our brownfields sites are. So that when we get notifications, that we would put them in some file of some sort, whether it's electronic or otherwise, and that everyone would know, that zoning would know, that Public Works would know where to look for it, that we would know where to look it up. And we did have a meeting, but since the last meeting with, I met with Tim Kroll and Deb Hogue and Shelley on that issue, and we did make some progress. It became clearer than it had been in the past that we're right. Nobody knows where those go, and except, I mean, Shelley gets them and does the best she can, but no, you know, Tim uses a different information map on the property maps and didn't know we were getting the notices. So we still need work on that, and we'll have to work with the new Public Works director to get that cleared up. So Bethany, that's something we need to think about going forward.
And I did
Bill.
meet with Shelley this past fall. I mean, to kind of get this started, where we went through the notices that she's getting, and, you know, she talked to me about, you know, what she's doing with them, how we, you know, file all of this. I mean, basically at this point, I mean, Shelley's the resource to identify what we get. And I understand we need to move this process forward to make it more formalized so that others can access that same data. But it sounds like we're at least making some progress, albeit by fits and starts here.
Yeah, and Deb Hogue is very interested in helping with that. She's does
Yep.
the wastewater treatment plant and other things. And she was the original one when she was environmental officer 10 years ago or 8 years ago, somewhere around in there, who started thinking about this with us, that we really ought to be able to know which properties have had cleanups done that may put restrictions on the future use of that property, and that zoning and planning would need to know about that if that were the case, so that we don't have someplace turned into a daycare center that is only allowed to have commercial or industrial use because there's toxics in the soil. So that's the whole issue of trying to get a handle on that. Because frankly, DEP expects municipalities to take the notice and go forward and do the enforcement. They are not going to be doing enforcement on Act 2 unless the person gets into serious trouble and there's a lawsuit going on. But in general, they expect municipalities to handle it, and they send you a notice and that's it.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I mean, this what we're talking about here is a fallback, because if you've got a commercial property in the city that has use limitations on it, part of DEP saying that you've attained a site-specific standard under Act 2, DEP is going to require the remediator to prepare and record an environmental covenant against the property, which outlines those limitations. So, you know, any future developer looking at a particular site, if they do a deed search, they're going to find that environmental covenant. Are there situations where those ECs are not recorded? Yes, it happens. I've had a number of projects over the years where that's exactly what occurred. It's rare. It's not the norm. But this will be a great fallback for us, you know, sort of a second place to go, you know, to identify potential properties that are at risk.
Okay, so moving on. We've only got 20 minutes. Moving on to new business. The first item is technical assistance from the Water Center at UPenn and the University of Maryland Environmental Finance Center. Who knows what's going on with that?
Hi, that's me. So I met with these technical assistance groups as vice chair of the EAC. I had a great conversation with them, and the two big things that came out of that conversation I wanted to tell you guys about were, first, they have students available to do projects that can help us with it's focused on green stormwater infrastructure for the city. And then the second thing is different types of finance trainings that they can provide to groups within the city. So I met with Bethany to get her opinion from the Public Works Department and sustainability and all of that. And for the student projects, Bethany came up with great ideas. They involve looking at different zoning and different paving methods for driveways for stormwater management so that residents can get driveways, but we can also still manage our stormwater appropriately. Mapping out particular neighborhoods. You know, students are students and they only have a specific amount of time for maps. So like any specific maps, like a downtown corridor, a specific neighborhood, and then also maybe looking at specific areas for different tree trenches or things like that. So we have some brainstormed ideas for student projects. And then for the financing and funding workshops, Bethany thought it would be a great idea for them to come and meet with the MS4 steering committee led by Ashley Showers at the Planning Commission.
Right.
So I think that we're going to move forward with that. I just wanted to kind of talk with all of you before I went back to these technical assistant providers. Another thing that they could do is come to a green stormwater infrastructure committee meeting. And then if anybody else wanted to join in on that call, of course, we could set that up. So I think the action items are, number one, if everybody's cool and if we all feel good, I'm going to tell them, yes, let's set up a financing and funding workshop with Ashley Showers and kind of pass that off to Ashley, right? I don't run that. Two, we can kind of brainstorm student projects, and I think it would probably happen in the fall. So I can confirm a timeline with them, and we can, as an EAC and the Green Stormwater Infrastructure Committee, can also come up with some ideas and solidify what would really, really benefit us. They had some great ideas about funding and where we could get it and what we could do. So I think that this map or this plan we should keep in mind that it could be a tool for us to get future funding for projects within the city.
Yep.
That's my update.
I spoke with Laura, thinking that the head of the research group at the Water Center at UPenn. I talked to her at the annual SAN meeting, and she wanted to go follow up and provide some of her students because they do, there's research groups and there's also more policy groups. So I think it'd be great. I'm glad you followed up on it and got us moving with them. So thanks, Sarah. That's great. Another thought here.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Sarah.
Yeah, that's going to be very helpful. I think along those lines, Bethany had a conversation with did you have it with David Osgood and Brian?
Yeah.
Um,
So for spring 2024 semester, we have, trying to think of how many we actually have going right now. Carly Sullivan is on the call. She is doing her capstone project with Public Works and looking at options for food waste diversion from our residential and small commercial waste stream. I have 2 students from Alvernia doing their sustainability field experience with us. I'm meeting with them later on today. One student specifically is looking at a project in Angelica Creek. The other student's kind of open to a project need. I have not heard confirmation from Dr. Osgood that that we will be working with Albright this semester with one of their projects, and we are looking at something with the urban forest is kind of what we've been talking about. And then our final student project is with Drexel, and they are putting together some materials for us, including and Bill, I'll talk to you about this tomorrow in the communications meeting, including some trainings on the energy efficiency programs and the new rebates and tax credits that are available for residential energy efficiency use. So just like we've been doing with Jasmine, we are getting brochures made up, and then we will also be doing some sort of either television show or webinar to help inform the neighbors about what is available and how to take advantage of it
great.
through Drexel.
Okay, good. Along those lines, I wanted to, this isn't on the agenda, but I was going to try and stuff it into new business, but it fits here. Reading the Reading Eagle this morning, I noted a big article on the innovation zone and the plan and the partnership with Habitat for Humanity to do green infrastructure, well, to basically do community development between the what was the SRI Center, the Albright building that's been being used as the total immersion learning.
Total experience learning.
Totally, I can never remember that. It was SRI. I worked with them in Adele for like 4 years on this, and I can't ever remember the new name. Say it again, Shelley. Total experiential learning.
Yes.
Okay. Total experiential learning center, which it has grown and broadened the focus of the Science Research Institute, which was Adele Shade's original project to get students involved in problem solving by just digging right in, and there have been 10 patents that have come out of those programs that people we would call kids have gotten from this approach to learning. So anyway, I thought we should keep in mind that they're going to be trying to rebuild homes and the landscapes between that Rockport, it's the building right across from the CVS and the Rockport Center. And it's painted red now, if you haven't noticed it, but between that building and the new STEM academy that they're building, that they tore down that whole huge area on what street is it? Shelley, you know?
North
Um,
9th at Douglas.
Ninth and
Ninth and
Douglas, yeah.
Douglas. So that whole area that's going to have the STEM Academy, they're going to try and link that with Rockport and that neighborhood and help to target that neighborhood for community development. So I think that's as close to a complete streets kind of concept that I've heard about in the works. And that we should jump in on that and try and get green infrastructure as part of what Habitat is planning to do with helping to restore buildings. And they have a bunch of students and people involved with.
I actually sit on the stakeholders meeting. We meet once a month about
Okay, great.
Habitat, and there's a couple other entities in the community. I think that'd be good for someone from the EAC to be at the table.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was reading it this morning. I said, oh, and I used to work with Habitat a lot, not here, but elsewhere. So, you know, it's part and parcel. While you're doing facade things, you know, you can also be thinking about trees and plants and garden and things that could be planned when you're doing that, or improvements to the sidewalks or some porous pavement.
What I'm actually doing now, I'm going around in the neighborhood with Councilwoman Melissa Ventura.
Mhm.
We're looking at vacant lots to
Good.
create green space.
Little pocket parks, yeah.
Pocket parks, exactly.
Right.
So
Yep.
that's what we're doing now. I got a counseling services. She just adopted Lance Place, the playground.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah. So we're looking at a grant to be able to go over the mural that's there, because it has graffiti on it.
Okay,
So we're actually working to beautify and clean that space up before the school is even built.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I just want to put a place mark in that for future conversation. So we'll have to get together with you, Ryan, and see what would be the best way for us to get involved in that and try and help the planning include some plantings and some and like you're already doing, like the pocket parks that like the one at Lucky's Lane and that have been done as city projects with the neighborhood initiative. Okay.
So just one question about pocket parks. So that ends up being a lot of maintenance.
Right, it does.
You have little pocket parks everywhere, and I'm wondering if there's any sort of way that the city could entertain, say, like a pocket park that has like a restaurant or something of that nature, like a private enterprise that they could do a long-term lease or rent, or like, I don't know, from a planning perspective. So people have a place to go, and maybe the city doesn't have another park to maintain.
Yeah, well, we're trying
Well, I
to
feel like they're kind of blurred
get
from
green
lines, right?
space. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
That just sounds like the regular thing that you would do. I get someone to have a business there.
Well,
The green space is a different category, right?
Yeah,
well, it's not, it's not a ready, it's not the quick option that people think of, but I think that maybe we shouldn't take the time now, but that should be a little bit of brainstorming about how collectively there might be something set up that can actually maintain these pocket parks. Because Ann's right. I mean, if they're a great idea, but 3 months in, there could be real problems before.
Yeah.
Not
No, but see this.
and I guess we shouldn't call them pocket parks. It could be green space. It could be tree planting.
I consider these green space, and this is I'm on a mission here. I'm on a mission. Listen, I'm on a mission to change the narrative. I'm on a mission to change the narrative, right? When they do come to fruition, right? The object is to have the neighborhoods take care of themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean, so we like we educate the community, right, about the importance of green space, about the importance of, just imagine if everybody clean up in front of their house. If everyone clean, just worry about your space. Just worry about your space. You know what I mean? So that's I want to change the narrative. So when they are created, we want to be able to educate the community and show them how to take care of them. You know what I mean? Show if they want flowers, if they want trees or whatever, right? Like walk them through the whole process and show them. You know what I mean? Show them how to maintain the space, right? Because
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I think about placemaking too, though, and having destinations and part of, like, as city planning, you know, having a place to go to, and like if it's like an outdoor sort of restaurant type of thing, that can be green as well if it's done right.
Yeah,
Um,
but I think open space is a specific priority of this group. And I think it makes sense we have a conversation about how could you combine it with, but we're talking about abandoned lots and abandoned places.
Yeah, but to see the point of how do you, like, we moved into a time and place where most people don't even recognize exactly how to use a park.
you got
People
to
don't really
educate
know
them. You
what
got
to do.
you have to educate. You have to educate.
Exactly. It's like,
It's time to change the narrative.
to me, what comes to mind is, like, if you live in the city in one of those dense row houses, it's like those little pocket parks are your backyard. That's your yard. So it's like, I get that, and I think I'm on board with the green space option of it, but I also could see like how the little park at Franklin Corner there has an old chess table that probably hasn't been used in a long time, but just things like that come to mind, that things that would, the green stuff, and then also things that would draw people there to spend time there. You
Right.
know, who knows what that could be, but just in general, it'd be something that's worth brainstorming. What kind of little, like, you think of I don't know. The classic scene is like those Chinese parks where it's like, it's a park, it's a green space and everything, but then there's like little industrial, like, exercise equipment or something like that. You know what I mean? Something that people would hang out and do something with.
Yeah, I mean, like
I
if the
see what you're
space
speaking to
isn't,
there. I think it's dangerous to think about having a business involved, as far as, because then you're blurring the lines of, like, is this a public space now or is this a capitalist space?
so
We
like
need
there's
we need to
example.
can, we
That's
really
the-
need to can this.
yeah.
We've got we've got 5 minutes left and we're halfway through the
Let's-
agenda. So
Let's
let's
figure
put
out
it
a way to
on,
have a separate discussion about
yeah.
that.
So do we want it communications committee or do we want it green infrastructure committee?
I think it's green infrastructure.
Okay. Let's do it.
Encouraging to know that there's a almost experimental, like, corridor in the city that is moving forward with stuff like that. That's good to know. It's like a blip on
Yeah.
the map.
Yeah. And I think that would be a good place to try and experiment with trying to promote new ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the things, right, so we've got Earth Day participation, we already kind of hit that. Annual report to City Council, I have to finish writing it, so I won't have it for you right away, but they're not ready to hear from us yet anyway, realistically, since they've just reconvened. The climate initiative, that's been moved, that's going to be, Bethany said that's going to be moved, the training. So she'll let us know when that is. Are there any of the project updates that need to be made?
Yeah, just real briefly for policy committee. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd like to have the two committees report out in the remaining 5 minutes. I wanted to give
All right,
more
well-
time to them, but we kind of ate it up with things, so.
all right, well, Bill first, he's first on the.
Oh, no, go ahead, you started.
Go
You
ahead,
started.
David.
Go ahead, go for
Okay.
it.
So Shelley, Jim, Emily Diaz from zoning and I met, I guess it was last week, about about this beekeeping ordinance. We got some really good comments from Emily. Decided that we need to reconvene as a subcommittee to address those comments and to revise the draft. So Shelley just circulated, I think early this morning, a copy of the minutes from that meeting with Emily's comments. So if everyone who's on the subcommittee can review those, and then Shelley, maybe if you can get an email out to try to schedule a meeting within the next 2 weeks or so, we can address those comments from Emily. We also need to convene anyway, just to kind of regroup to see where we're at in connection with the treescape issue. I think there are some deliverables on us as a result of our last meeting, things that we simply need to review and get some consensus on before we move forward with that. But that's where we're at by way of an update from the policy subcommittee.
Thank you,
Thanks.
David. Comments, questions?
A question about treescapes. So you're working with the city committee on that, or?
The
Yeah,
shade
well,
tree.
Yeah. I mean, we had a meeting, about a month ago, where we, got some additional clarification on just what they're looking for from us, but we need to convene as a subcommittee to address those issues.
Okay.
Bill, report on the communications committee.
Yeah, I read through most of the report of the policy committee on beekeeping. I found it very interesting. They're little creatures, but man, a lot of things to think about. I think that's really nice, really constructive. So first of all, I see Chris Miller has left. He's our council rep, and I had breakfast with him last week and talked about a couple of things. And it sort of fell under the purview of the communications committee. So we talked about doing a presentation to council about the EAC and all the stuff we're doing, and he said wait till April or May, and thought we should prepare about 15 minutes. But much as we had guessed, he thought holding off would be good. The other thing that sort of part of what we've been talking about the communications committee is carrying on these climate action plan workshops that Bethany has been doing to develop a presentation. And as we had said at our last communications committee meeting, that we should coordinate with council. Shelley suggesting was one of the first things Chris said was we should try to do these in coordination with council in each of the districts. So, as we reconvene, we can be talking about that. We, based on, in part or mostly on Bethany's assessment of needs in her department, we decided to renew or extend Jasmine's contract. So she'll be continuing to work with us through June. And that's in process. She's developing the online stuff and helping with production of documents and coming up with content for all of the stuff we're doing. The shooting, she'll be including working with us on refining these climate action plan presentations for the workshops. And we've started conversations with both Barrio Alegria and the Hispanic Center on both identifying and engaging someone to work in community outreach and engagement, kind of on the ground, door to door, whatever, in public meetings like this workshop. And I won't go into more detail there, but both those conversations have been very positive, very encouraging. They've been very receptive. Bethany and I talked with Mike Toledo last week of the Centro Hispano, and I have 3 pages of notes. I mean, a page full of things he just rattled off on the spot of ways that they can work with us and help us get our work out into the community. And again, I can fill in on that. I'm trying to just go through this quickly, but so there's at this juncture, there seems to be a lot of potential for some sort of partnership with both of those entities. I'll skip over the book club. Bethany had mentioned what Carly is doing in terms of food waste diversion. At our last communications committee meeting, that led to a long discussion about backyard composting. And we're going to continue that discussion, but really it's something for the whole EAC, but including workshops, maybe modeling maybe an ordinance, but modeling the work there on what we did with rain barrels, maybe even providing, not the city necessarily providing, but making available at some kind of minimal cost composting. Anyway, some of the people in that meeting were very interested in hearing what those of us who do backyard composting, what that's about.
I've been doing it for years, Bill.
Who was that,
Yeah, we
David?
should keep in
Yeah,
mind that,
I've been doing that for years, Bill.
Okay, we could we could have a panel of experts. It'll just blow the city out of the water.
Well, on that, Bill, are we planning on going to, and Shelley, are we planning on going to that site where they do the indoor composting?
we can talk
The
about
private
that
owner?
tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, so I suggested scheduling that some point. Then Bethany, for a minute, had a field trip that got canceled, so I don't know. I can work with Bethany on her availability and when to set that up. But yeah, that's still
Actually,
absolutely possible.
yeah, if we could possibly, because Carly's gonna be here for a couple days, mid-February, if we could possibly work with John to get that scheduled maybe for the afternoon of February 13th. And I sent out an email. We do have a field trip scheduled for the morning of the 13th to go out to the Republic landfill. If you are interested and have not sent me that you would like to go, please do that no later than tomorrow.
Is
thought
the
that was
13th
canceled.
That was canceled, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got a cancellation notice from you, Bethany, that was canceled.
It's election interfering. While she's looking, I'll just finish my report.
No,
did something else get canceled?
no, I have you know what? My computer was acting up last week. So, and it doesn't have, my current list doesn't have who's on it. So it should be Shelley. Kathy? Are you a yes? Okay.
David CS.
Yeah, I have David.
What date is that?
It is February 13th. We'll leave here around 9 o'clock and return around noon.
I'll check that out. Never
Okay.
been to a real landfill before.
Yeah.
And I think keep in mind that in the discussions about the backyard compost, that we also have a larger initiative to possibly have a citywide compost collection, which would kind of, I think for a lot of people, that would be more appealing.
I think that's what Carly's going to be looking at as part of her report.
Yeah, she's starting the initial, what does this look like for us?
And that's what generated the whole conversation about backyard composting being done in tandem maybe with that, so that so the other just couple of things. So what Jasmine has been working on is we're developing these sustainable 6 fact sheets, but out of that we're sort of pulling out of that some of the information, and it's tied to the signage, are bookmarks on each of those sustainable 6 and stickers as being sort of pushed mostly by the younger people on the committee as ways to communicate with young people. And working with Bethany on expanding and developing these climate action plan workshops that could turn into more of kind of ongoing kind of community outreach and education events. And at RAC on the 15th, I forget what it's called, Environmental Awareness Week, but we will be tabling, mostly, I guess, the communications committee, but anybody in the EAC, if you want to be at the table, it's the 15th of February. And I think there may be a roundtable discussion, and I'm not sure if that's happening, but so that's kind of what's going on with the committee. I don't think I missed anything.
And Bill, I did want to
say is
confirm.
I don't think I was clear.
Bill, I did want to just confirm that I did drop off 1,000 copies of the new EAC What to Do in a Disaster Guide to Tech Centro. Not Tech Centro, to Centro Hispano for them to put out in the Meals on Wheels that goes to Reading residents, as well as have them available to other people.
Yeah, that was one aspect. I mean, I'd love to take another 5 minutes and just relate all the possibilities You know, just real quickly, they provide how many meals for schools, for senior centers, for Olivettes, for, I mean, around the community, 3,500, 4,000 meals. So every one of those
A day.
distributions could be taking our materials, not just a once and done. I mean, on a continual basis. Every one of those groups is an opportunity for someone to speak to. Tomorrow in the communications committee, we'll go a little more into detail and talk about some of the options. But the one thing I will say is what we are talking with both of these organizations that I mentioned, mostly with Badio, is this on the ground outreach person that we would fund out of this year's funding, partly from EAC money, partly from Bethany's budget. But that the start of that has been very constructive, and I will see where that goes. Does anybody have any questions?
I think all the topics we cover really underlines the crossover of green infrastructure and environmental issues in everyday aspects of life. Like it's a spider web.
Bethany put it that the problems are interrelated and the solutions are interrelated. When we talked to Mike Toledo, and I mean, one of the things that was evident to me is we didn't have to do a climate change 101. Why does this an issue that the community should be? I mean, he got it right away. Why his community, so to speak, is needs to hear about what we want to talk about. So I found it encouraging at this juncture.
Yeah, that is, and I just want to say, if you're not on a subcommittee and there's something they're going to do, and you're always welcome to attend it, just let the chair know.
Yeah.
So if anything like that Bill or David says just resonates with you and you'd really like to know more, please feel free to attend. We're just asking there to be a formal subcommittee. In fact, one thing I thought we should do as part of the reorganization, Shelley, is to send out the current list of who's on the subcommittees. So
I
that
actually just sent Shelley an email.
What?
I just sent Shelley an email asking her that. Who's on the committees? When do they meet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that people can be on a different one if they want or whatever.
And I guess I should ask, I mean, I've been taking basically the notes for the communications committee. You know, Shelley takes the other ones and she distributes them. If people want to get another email, let me know. I just send it out to the committee so we kind of all are on the same page every time we get together. They're not as detailed as Shelley's, but I can certainly send it to everyone if people say they'd like to see it.
Well, let Bill know if you would like to receive them. Okay.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering is maybe each subcommittee sends their meeting notes to Shelley to just include in the agenda packet.
She gets them.
I do that already. That packet that's attached to the Zoom invitation has not just the EAC summary, but all of the committees that have met in the meantime. So you can all see them all.
Oh, really? So it's somewhere, if you keep moving down, it's there somewhere.
Yep.
Okay.
And you have bills too? I didn't know that.
You add mine to that?
I do when I get them, yes.
Okay.
Sometimes, so the ones that you just sent out yesterday was too late for today's packet, but it'll be on the next packet.
I was going to say, I know.
So sometimes there's a lag, but they're all in there somewhere.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know.
Great. Thank you. Okay, well then I would, this is my last meeting as chair, and I'll hand it over to Sarah. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Right.
Anybody opposed? Okay, let's go then. And our next meeting is February 27th at noon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right, guys, take care.
See you later, everybody.